May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be a breath of fresh air and a balm to our souls that enable us to live lives given by the Creator, modeled by the child, and inspired by the Spirit. May it be so. I am tired. Put up your hand if you're tired. This is just not the I stayed up too late binging Netflix tired, or the children woke in the night tired, or I am of the age where sleep doesn't come easily tired. For me, this is bone deep tired. Tired of pandemic. Tired that simple things seem to need multiple steps to accomplish them. Tired of ongoing medical stuff in our family that is better, but still needs time and attention. I will let you name your own tired or other state of mind this morning. Take a minute to breathe, to be present in this place, to prepare yourself to listen. You can listen to me as I share where today's scriptures took me and what I want to share with you, or you have my permission to take your own adventure with this time and interpret the scriptures for yourself. Keep an eye on the screen, turn the volume down, and come back when you see the song after the homily appear. It felt like time to participate in worship leadership again, so I said yes when Diane called. Didn't look at the scriptures or give a conditional yes. I just said yes, I would coordinate. Then I looked at the scriptures, asked a few people if they might preach. Time passed. Those people said no, and time was short. So it became easier for me to preach and to find someone to do the upfront words. Thanks so much, Rena. Thanks also to Keith, Laura, Dwight, and James for taking on being prayers, readers, and acknowledgers. We worship here together as gathered community. This worship comes together as it does because of who we are and what we bring with us today. It comes together because each of us feels attached to this community and want to offer what we can. It lives on past noon because of what we take away from it. Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. Words of Desmond Tutu. This quote was shared in a memorial service for Archbishop Desmond Tutu, held by the Sabeel Liberation Theology Center yesterday afternoon. Palestinians and allies who felt a deep kinship with the Arch and a need to celebrate him in their own way. He was a man who supported and stood with them for nearly 40 years because of his formation within apartheid and his deep, deep faith that apartheid and Palestinian oppression are wrong. I can only imagine the tired feelings he and all our siblings who live with overwhelming oppression day in and day out must carry. But there is still Archbishop Desmond's incredible smile and laughter. Before the worship started yesterday, they had this beautiful photograph on the screen. There are his quotes that people take seriously and that fuel ongoing work to change the systems. There is love of siblings in his word and in the service that remembered him. I thought I was going to share a contemporary reading or do something new or different today, but it's a pretty ordinary service with somewhat traditional hymns and 2 reasonably well-known scripture passages. The gospel, in my opinion, is even anticlimactic. It was the reading last week that is my favorite Luke passage. Jesus said the good stuff that I based my final theology paper on. But it's interesting to me that both of today's passages connect to the arch's words and remind me that no matter how tired or distracted or fill in your own adjective, if I and we can find it within me and us to do my and our little bit of good, it will make a difference. I don't have to find new or different readings to share the core message of being human. It is enough to open myself to what is there and discern what needs to be shared. The gospel starts this morning the way it ended last week. Today, in your hearing, this scripture is fulfilled. Well, that certainly started the chatter. And then Jesus responds, and did they ever hustle him out of that holy place? They were so upset by him claiming that the words of Isaiah were fulfilled. And then he had the audacity to name marginalized people to whom God had come. And they wanted to get rid of him for good. Some would say that that was the proof that he was doing his little bit of good. Jesus kept his cool, turned around and walked through the crowd, who were so stunned, they simply parted and let him go. We can read the rest of the gospel to hear about his little bits of good, because we know he continued to do those and he calls us to do them. This brings me to the first reading, another well-known passage of scripture. It fascinates me in this reading that it promises clarity, perfect knowledge, a different reality that will be present face to face rather than in the mirror. I'm not sure I believe that time will come. It feels harder to believe with less life in front of me than behind me. But what I do really appreciate from this reading is the foundation of love. Things don't need to be perfect or clear to experience or exude love. Imagine the love that Jesus had for those people from his hometown who misunderstood him. I don't know if Abby Graham from Fergus, Ontario, who attends Wellington Centre District High School, has faith or hope, although I suspect she might, but she sure has love. A CBC radio story introduced me to this 17-year-old who was disturbed by more than 22 bullying incidents that happened in her high school in the fall. She created the Kindness Pledge, and since January 19th, over 250 people, 25 businesses, and 10 organizations have taken the pledge. She's received a lot of media attention. The idea itself came about after a transgender person was assaulted based on their identity. Visiting her website, I discovered a very simple pledge that politely demands inclusivity and kindness. The point of the pledge is to better educate the community and create a large group of people that are committed to learning so they can better support marginalized groups to make a more kind and inclusive community. I love how she acknowledges the groups of people already doing the work, and that by taking the pledge, people are joining those already doing the work. And this is a quote from the CBC story. The 17-year-old said school administration and staff have appropriately responded, but she believes the incidents reflect deeper issues of hate in her broader community. It got me really thinking about where this hate was coming from. And I came to the realization that it had to be coming from outside sources because kids aren't born hateful, said Graham. So I wanted to create something that would reach outside our community and could create a positive initiative that would bring people together and kind of pledge to make our community a more kind and inclusive environment for everyone. So I give thanks today, on a day, in a week, in a pandemic where I continue to feel tired, that people like Abby are out there doing her own little bit of good. I can take Abby's story and turn my mind back to the scripture. I can acknowledge there will be times when my intent doesn't matter. There will be times when my actions are imperfect. There will be times when I am hurtful. And even if those actions are imbued with love, it won't be enough. What will be enough is me stopping to think about my words and actions and choosing out of love to do better next time. Jesus, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Autumn Pelche, and countless others that are coming to our minds in this moment. Provide us with hope that love can truly be embodied. That as we work to change this broken, imperfect, tiring world of ours, we must be grounded in love of self, in love of land, in love of others. And I would say in love of God, or your understanding of something beyond land, self, and others. I am less tired now than when I sat down to get these words out of my head and into a form I could share. I am less tired now that these words have been shared. I am less tired to have gathered with my community and to know that I am not alone in my tiredness. To know that I am not alone in my imperfectness. To know that I am not alone in my desire to do and be better. And I give thanks. I give thanks for people named aloud and in our hearts who have gone before us and walked through the crowds of disbelievers. And I give thanks for people named aloud and in our hearts who continue to act out of a place of love. I give thanks for this community gathered here, for this community in all its forms and places and times. Blessed be.